I named it Bad Boy because I wanted to go against the grain. Anytime you go against the grain, they consider you bad.
It all started with the vision that led to an undeniable power. A real-life saga that's filled with life's most lavish things, as well as betrayal, jealousy, prison sentences, and many other things that's unfathomable to the average mind. A world where the insane is in control, and those with the lesser understanding is easily preyed upon. Whether right or wrong, each individual played their role, and in the end, either reaped the benefits or suffered the consequences. Like most label owners who knows the industry and how it works from the inside out, Diddy had become the shepherd to a fleet of artists that assisted in making the Bad Boy brand a household name, as well as making its owner millions and millions of dollars through their own blood, sweat, and tears. But let's start from the beginning. From intern to top dog at Uptown Records, Sean Puffy Combs had made lots of money for the label and kept them relevant during the late 1980s into the 1990s, but was fired in 1993 before starting what would become one of the biggest record labels in the music industry ever.
I named it Bad Boy because I wanted to go against the grain. Anytime you go against the grain, they consider you bad.
This is it, Bad Boy Entertainment.
Bad Boy Entertainment, no doubt.
Cool. So what we gonna do, baby? Where's Craig and Biggie?
The label's first release was a single by Craig Mack titled Flavor in Your Ear, and was quickly followed up by Mack's debut album titled Project Funk the World in 1994. With the momentum rolling strong, the label released Juicy and Ready to Die, the lead single and debut album from the Notorious Big, which was released later that same year. While Project Funk the World just touched gold, Ready to Die achieved multi-platinum status, which dominated the charts in 1995, made Biggie the star of Bad Boy Records and rap's most recognized artist.
If it's 5:46 in the morning, you know what I'm saying, we're gonna shoot this warning joint on some straight up Scarface. I'm about to start working on a new album. My group about to come out, Junior Mafia. Trying to get that big Papa bills, you know what I'm saying? Tired of renting these cribs out to shoot videos. I want to do it at my spot.
The door was now wide open for Bad Boy, which allowed continued platinum success by the R&B group Total, as well as Faith Evans before closing out the year of 1995. By this time, Bad Boy had become the epitome of music, and with consistent platinum success, they were now active champions at the top of the food chain. But wherever there's an extreme rise within anything, there's always an extreme opposite. And for Bad Boy Records, those ops came in the form of Death Row.
The East Coast ain't got no love for Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg and Death Row.
The infamous and tragic East-West rap war was the beginning of dropped bodies, and according to Death Row's CEO Suge Knight, it all started with the loss of his friend Jake Robles, allegedly taken out by the hand of Puffy's bodyguard, Anthony Wolf Jones. Whether true or not, tensions had grown too high, and in no time a full-on coastal beef had risen, from sending shots on live broadcast television to sending them in real life, shots that ended the lives of hip-hop's most influential, Tupac, then Biggie.
The rapper, whose actual name is Christopher Wallace, was shot and killed in a drive-by shooting just 6 months after his rival, West Coast rapper Tupac Shakur, was assassinated in Las Vegas.
The loss of the Notorious Big was the first casualty within the dark side of Bad Boy's continued rise to the top, but it definitely wasn't the last. It's strongly alleged in the media that Puffy's got muddy hands when it comes to the loss of both Biggie and Pac, and stood to make quadruple times more with Biggie's departure rather than alive. And what do you know, Biggie's Life After Death album was released 2 weeks after his death and reached #1 on the Billboard Top 200. The album sold 11 million copies in the US alone, and still is one of the highest selling rap albums ever in the US.
Ironically, Biggie Smalls was set to release an album called Life After Death, Till Death Do Us Part.
After surviving such violent back and forth with Death Row, Puffy and Bad Boy Records had quickly rebounded and found themselves at the top once again. But this time it was with the Harlem native, Mase, whose debut album Harlem World reached #1 on Billboard Pop and R&B, eventually going 4 times platinum in the US alone. The 1997 feel-good music and shiny suit era changed the game, and Mase was responsible for making the Bad Boy brand a lot of money. But it would come out later that he wasn't receiving his proper share.
See? More shiny. Even more shiny.
Like several other Bad Boy artists, Mase wrote many songs for other artists but never received the credit for it, along with Mase's allegations of Puffy trying to keep him in the role of a soldier when he was really a general. So 1 year later in 1998, Mase formed his own label and called it All Out Records, but continued to fulfill his Bad Boy agreement by dropping his second album before announcing his retirement in 1999. With the absence of Mase, Bad Boy had traded in their shiny suits for baggy jeans and oversized tees that made it easy to hide weapons, thanks to the label's newest lead star, Shine. By far, Shine's betrayal from Puffy and Bad Boy Records has got to be one of the darkest, short-lived real-life tragedies that the label has ever produced. After recording and completing his full album, The Baileys Native was set to be hip-hop's next big movement, but the night of December 27, 1999 changed the course of his future forever. Shine, Puffy, and Puffy's company entered a nightclub in New York City's Times Square to celebrate and have a good time, until Puffy got into it with a group of known steppers from Brooklyn. From Shine's point of view, he could see Diddy at a distance having words with who he recognized to be some real vicious guys. So in order to protect the money, he felt obliged to get involved. Allegedly, before one of the guys could fully draw his gun and aim it, Shine had already begun letting off shots in their direction in order to get Diddy out of such sensitive situation. When the smoke cleared, multiple people, including innocent bystanders, were shot, and Shine, Diddy, and Diddy's company were all taken into custody after trying to flee the scene.
I was in fear for my life. Scar, who was the instigator, I know Scar from Brooklyn. Those are my guys. I didn't really have a problem with it. That wasn't my beef. That was Puff's issue.
Whether it was a setup or not, Shine's decision and actions put him in the hot seat while Puffy and company were all released, but still had to prove themselves innocent in the court of law. Long before the trial had started, Diddy had already distanced himself from Shine, and behind the scenes had them set up with different lawyers as well as different trials.
Because Puffy's defense implicated Shine in the shootings, Shine says having his own lawyers bankrolled by Bad Boy posed a conflict of interest.
Where Diddy got off with the slap on the wrist, Shine was facing life in prison, and while serving his time, you guessed it, his 2000 debut was released and was a success. In 2001, he was convicted of assault and sentenced to 10 years in prison, but was released in 2009 before being deported to Belize in 2010.
I was defending him, and he called witnesses to testify against me. This is someone who destroyed my life.
Just like Biggie wasn't the last to depart coming out of the Bad Boy camp, Shine wasn't the last to do real prison time. Lil' Kim's debut album and career kicked off in 1996, just 1 year before the loss of Biggie Smalls. The album titled Hardcore went certified double platinum, which had become the highest selling debut in the US for a female rap album at that time. It also earned her the title of Queen Bee, aka the baddest bitch in the rap game, and she carried it well. 1 year after the success of her first album, it's safe to say Lil' Kim had lost a part of herself after the loss of her ex-boyfriend, confidant, and label mate, Biggie Smalls, and you could see at the funeral she took it the hardest. For almost 10 years, Kim had a strong run in the game, but in 2005 ended up serving a 12-year prison sentence due to lying to a jury about her friend's involvement in a shooting that took place 4 years earlier. She was released from prison sometime in mid-2006.
Craig Mack, you know, when he first came around, he really didn't want anybody to know where he was.
Out of all the dark lives lived by Bad Boy artists, the Craig Mack story has to be the harshest by far. He was born on May 10, 1970 in the Bronx, New York, and was only in the care of his biological family for the first 5 months of his life, due to them literally leaving him in the cold and dangerous streets of the Bronx. Miraculously, he was found by a couple who found themselves attached and decided to adopt and raise the infant Craig Mack in their hometown of Long Island, just 1 hour away from where they found him. By the time he was 15 years old, Mack had started writing raps, and he was good at it. By the time he was 17, he had already recorded his first album, and by the time Puffy had formed Bad Boy Records, Mack was the very first artist to drop an album on the label.
My man Craig Mack, my foundation, you know what I'm saying? It's my life right here.
The success of Mack's debut album was the first and last that he would ever see as a bad boy and mainstream artist, and it was down bad the way he was treated during the rest of his stay on the Bad Boy label.
And I want to congratulate Craig Mack on his Grammy nomination.
We got a new album we're working on him to drop in January. Besides that, we about to just drop our R&B stuff.
He was promised a second release, but was evidently surprised to find out on a live interview with Puffy and Biggie that those plans had changed. Mack went on and dropped his second album without Bad Boy, but did horrible numbers and didn't chart on any billboards. After the third release failed, Mack disappeared from rap altogether, then resurfaced to the public's eye in early 2012, but this time it was totally different.
What is your name, sir?
My name is Craig Mack.
And what did you used to do when you was in the world?
Wickedness.
Oh, okay. And what are you doing now?
Righteous.
Mac went on to release a third album, but it failed to make mainstream once again. Then on March 12, 2018, Mac was pronounced dead due to heart failure that stemmed from a long case of HIV.
The death of rapper Craig Mack, the Grammy-nominated rapper, died at just 46 years old.